I'll add Matthew and Alan as well.
No, we've got a message. We have
And also there's this if you want to make a you're doing so well in the new studio. So we especially
This is Friday, the 26th of May. The other day, Wednesday, the 24th of May, there was a massive rally in Hyde Park near the Archibald Fountain. It had many people. People are saying somewhere between 800 and 1,200. Stella Assange, Julian's wife, was there. What was stated in the rally itself was that we need to do as much as possible, as many things as possible, to try and help to get Julian out. Now I will show you something quickly. We can see we have the Meet Your MP campaign. Absolutely. As soon as you see this, get hold of it. Use the QR code on your smartphone when you do, or find it on the net. As soon as you do, it makes it very easy for you to send stuff to your local MP. It's really important. But there are other important things we should be doing too, based on what was stated at that meeting. I can give you an example. The Philip Adams petition has more than 750,000 signatures on it. We need to get it to 1 million. It's so important. If you've already signed it, that's great. It won't let you sign it again. So we please do some housekeeping on that. We need you to sign that. Send that petition and the Meet Your MP information on social media. Really important. So all your friends can sign it. You also need to do as much as you can in all ways just to help out with this. It's all really important. So to actually get hold of this information, what we want you to do is to click the link on the description of this video, and you'll get the Meet Your MP campaign for Australia. Don't forget, please sign the change.org petition run by Philip Adams. That's most important wherever you are in whatever country you're in. Thank you.
We've had Julian Assange's wife in Australia for the last week. She travelled around the world to come and thank us on the streets, standing up for her husband, and told us how important we'd been in this fight. She also asked to speak to our Prime Minister, to ask him to please make her husband's case. Anthony Albanese refused to talk to Stella Assange when she was in Australia, just as ScoMo will be remembered for going to Hawaii during the worst bushfires Australia has ever seen. Albo will be remembered for saying no to meeting with Stella Assange from the other side of the world to ask for help. He refused to meet her. Welcome to the 183rd week of Julian Assange Sydney Town Hall gatherings. In a democracy, there should be no greater power than that of the people. If power becomes concentrated in the hands of a few, the general population must show its resistance if it wishes to live freely, particularly if new technology makes it possible for the powerful few to enslave the many. Resistance means doing anything that is different to what those who have amassed power wish us to do. Speaking freely about the illegitimate actions of the powerful is resistance. We don't have to break laws to resist illegitimate power. We simply need to act in ways the powerful do not wish us to act. Successfully resisting the powerful is the way that we can take back the power that is rightfully ours. Julian Assange resisted illegitimate power by publishing clear evidence of a corrupted system. There is now no excuse for denying that our system is geared to the preservation of corruption. Julian's publishing was both ethical and legal. He broke no laws and he caused no harm. The corrupt establishment's persecution of Julian provides strong evidence that publishing evidence is a viable solution to the corruption of democracy. We need everyone to realise this. It has often been said that Julian's publishing didn't tell us anything we didn't already suspect. That may be the case, but Julian has given us the proof beyond reasonable doubt that we are being governed by lying, cheating, heartless criminals who have managed to corrupt entire systems of checks and balances. For example, our judiciary and our media. The evidence Julian published makes it possible for everyone to see the need to resist those who have gained immense power through corrupting democracy. One person resisting is not enough. We need large numbers of people to resist in unity with Julian. The 12.5-year illegal and cruel detention of Julian Assange demonstrates that publishing authentic evidence makes corrupt power vulnerable to the consciousness it raises in decent people. The publishing of authentic evidence and supporting the right of Julian Assange to freely publish that evidence are important forms of resistance.
What he's gone through, the persecution, is illegal. He should never have been treated in this way. He's a human, he's done the right thing by people. I've voted, I've donated. Free him and bring him home.
Thank you.
Thank you. We cannot afford to leave resistance to corrupt power to the few highly motivated people. Individuals are too easily targeted by the mechanisms of the corrupted system. We need to mount a united resistance if we are going to overwhelm the hierarchy of corruption. The fight to free Julian Assange is heating up. Through the unity of determined people, we will win this fight. Keep fighting. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
We've got someone up here from Melbourne that's come to see Stella last Wednesday, and he's hung around to come and join us here at Sydney Town Hall steps. We're here every Friday 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. during winter, and Simon's come all the way from Melbourne to visit us, and he's going to say something to you folks. Here he is. Give him a warm welcome.
Free Julian Assange. That's what we're here for. We must get Julian Assange released from captivity. He's incarcerated at the moment in a high security prison called Belmarsh Maximum Security Prison in London. He committed no crime. What he did do was tell the world about crimes committed by the governments of our countries, especially the United States of America. You might have seen that video when a Apache helicopter was gunning down journalists and civilians in the streets of Baghdad. It was called the collateral murder video. It went all over the world. Did you see that? That's what the Americans were doing over in Iraq and Afghanistan. Remember Abu Ghraib, the prison in Iraq, where America had a torture program. They were torturing anybody they could get hold of that they suspected of being friendly to the Iraqi people. They were torturing people. They were wiring up people to electrodes, doing all sorts of terrible things, bashing people to death. Then they set up that prison camp in Guantanamo Bay in Cuba. They put it in Cuba so that it wouldn't be affected by the American laws, so they could torture and abuse and murder people without getting into trouble with their own legal system. Julian Assange exposed all of this. He exposed crimes all over the world. It wasn't just America that he focused on. He set up WikiLeaks so that anybody could send them an email and disclose what crimes that were going on in their industry or in their country. If you worked for, if you worked for Pfizer and you knew of illegal things that were going on in that company, you wouldn't tell the newspaper or the TV station because you'd lose your job. You'd lose your house, you'd lose your family, you'd be destroyed. WikiLeaks was set up so that people could divulge important criminal information that people must know. People must know what the governments they elected are doing in their name. Julian Assange gave people the opportunity to find out the truth in the world. Now, I don't think anybody here likes to be lied to. Well, you've been lied to again and again and again. And Julian Assange exposed those lies. So we all must be eternally grateful for Julian Assange. He's a hero because he gave us the truth when the governments were in a conspiracy to deny us the truth. And they've denied us the truth again and again and again about the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and they're now lying to us about the war in Ukraine. And what they try to do is they try to set one group of people against the other group of people. So then you get this bizarre situation where some people believe the mainstream media and the other section of the community doesn't believe the mainstream media. So the government is setting us up to fight with each other. We don't want that. We want the truth. Julian Assange gave us the truth, and that's what we want. We're civilians in this great country of Australia, and we demand to know the truth. we demand that the lying stops. Julian Assange gave us that power, and they locked him up. They didn't want us knowing the truth. They locked him up. He's had 13 years of his life taken away from him. 13 years of his 13 of the most productive years in anybody's life. In your 40s going on in your 50s. And that was taken away from Julian Assange. And so all of a sudden we didn't get the truth anymore because Julian Assange was incarcerated and gagged. He was unable to tell us the truth. And that's what we want. We want the truth. We want to know what's really going on in the world. Julian Assange has been locked up for 13 years. Highly intelligent, highly capable man who gave us a gift of truthful information. And as you all know, democracy relies on truth. You cannot have democracy if you don't have truthful information, truthful media. Free speech and free media gives us the ability to make decisions about things in life. We don't want to be lied to, and we're being lied to all the time. We need Julian Assange and WikiLeaks to free the truth. Free the truth and free Julian Assange immediately. They are holding him in isolation in Belmarsh prison for 22 hours a day. Can you imagine being locked in the toilet for 22 hours every day? Because believe me, his cell is not much bigger than your average toilet. And there sits one of the greatest journalists the world has ever seen. No journalist has ever been able to expose vast volumes of truth and do it so effectively with his WikiLeaks website. At first, when he started releasing the truth, the media loved him. And then once they knew that America, the CIA and the military didn't like Julian Assange, they shut up. But initially they did report his collateral murder video. So they, technically, are just as guilty of divulging information as Julian Assange is, but they didn't throw the New York Times editor in jail, and they didn't throw the Washington Post editor in jail. All those people are enjoying freedom. So they picked on Julian and they decided to incarcerate him. That was 13 years ago. Locked up. First he was locked up in the Ecuadorian embassy, and then they marched in and arrested him. Now that's a breach of international law right there. Everybody knows it's a breach of the Geneva Convention to deny anybody asylum. Julian Assange applied for asylum with Ecuador, and he was granted asylum to protect him from the persecution that was so obvious that the Americans and the British judiciary were handing out to Julian Assange. They knew that he had to be protected, his life was in danger, so they gave him asylum. And then 7 years later, they had a change of government in Ecuador. America organised for some $4 billion, I believe, to be given to the new Ecuadorian president. And so they allowed the London police to go in there and arrest him and carry him out and throw him in Belmarsh prison, where he's been for the last 4 years. And they are treating him very badly. His health is suffering. He gets locked up in his cell for 22 hours a day. Terrible. Julian Assange is a lovely bloke. He gave us a great gift. He gave us truth and honesty. We must do everything we can to get him released. And that includes talking to your ministers in the government, and make sure when you're walking around, wear a sign on your hat or on your coat, and just with a notice, a sign saying "Free Julian Assange." Everybody must join in and cooperate together to spread the message. We will not accept a famous Australian journalist being locked up forever in Belmarsh jail or any other jail. As you know, America wants to extradite him so they can lock him up in one of their supermax jails, where they've already admitted he will be denied the right to communicate with anybody. Can you imagine that? Solitary confinement for the rest of your life, and that's what they've got in store for Julian. We must do everything we can to free Julian Assange and free the truth. Thank you.
Trying to stay out of the way of the camera.
Thanks, Simon.
Ladies and gentlemen, Julian Assange is still locked up in Belmarsh Maximum Security Jail in London. He's still locked up. He's been locked up for 13 years. I see some of you young people coming past here, many of whom haven't heard of Julian Assange, and that's because of the way information is served out to us. I get information about Julian Assange all the time on my Facebook feed, but that's because I have an interest in it and Facebook serves it up to me. But a lot of people don't hear anything about Julian Assange on Facebook because that's how insidious Facebook is. Never has there been a time before when it's been so important that Julian Assange and people like him can deliver the truth to us, because we're not getting the truth from the media. The mainstream media has been complicit with the government agenda of trying to suppress any awareness of what the English and the American government and the Australian government is doing to our Julian Assange. Julian Assange is Australian. He's a good Australian bloke, and he's motivated by wanting to help people, to save people from the lies of a corrupt regime that has an economic model of continuous war. You've heard about the continuous war that the America wages on the world. We need the truth. We don't want to be lied to. Julian Assange gave us the ability to find the truth, so we could find out who was lying to us and why they were lying to us. How important is the truth to everybody? But it'd have to rank as one of the most important things in life, wouldn't it? The truth. Nobody wants to be lied to. So when I see some of you teenagers walk past here, you would have been a toddler when Julian Assange was locked up in the Ecuadorian embassy in London. Julian Assange fights for everybody by giving them the truth. Doesn't matter where you're from. We have all sorts of nationalities in Australia. We have people from the Middle East, from Iraq and Afghanistan and India and Indonesia and Malaysia and China. Everybody needs the truth. Julian Assange gave us the truth, and so what do? They locked him up so he couldn't tell us the truth anymore, while they continue with their aggressive global war campaign. We need honesty, we need truth, and we need Julian Assange to be freed. Thank you.
US, UK, hands off Assange. US, UK,
Hands off Assange!
US, UK.
Hands off Assange!
Albo said enough was enough. What's he mean by that? I reckon Albo might be a bit of a nuff. What do you reckon? Enough. Why doesn't he get Julian Assange freed? He just entered into a $368 billion deal with America, something about submarines that we're going to get several decades later. You think he would have just mentioned, hey, how about you release Julian Assange we're spending a lot of money with you. Come on, guys. We've got to get Julian Assange free. We've got to free the truth. Julian Assange is still locked up in Belmarsh prison in London. Still locked up. And guess what, guys? He spent 22 hours locked up in his prison cell today. 22 hours. He gets let out for 2 hours a day. This is our Julian Assange, the most famous Australian journalist, probably the most famous journalist ever, because he divulged so much of what was really going on in the world. We must free Julian Assange and free the truth.
Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese recently revealed that he has made private representations to the United States government on behalf of Julian Assange. It is crucially important that the US government knows that an overwhelming majority of Australians want to see the charges against Julian dropped, and for him to finally be brought home. With Julian's court date looming, we urgently need to increase the pressure on the US government to act. Will you write to Caroline Kennedy, the US ambassador to Australia, and ask her to act?
Free Julian Assange!
Hello everybody. I just wanted to let you know that the Assange Campaign Australia has started the Meet Your MP for Assange program, where you can sign up to speak to your MP and discuss the issue of Julian Assange. It's crucial that we, as Australian citizens, stand up for our right to speech, and we acknowledge that we have the freedom of press. Julian Assange is an Australian journalist who did nothing more than publish the truth. Julian Assange has been locked away for 13 years for telling the truth. Thank you.
Oh look, just, yeah, enough's enough. Really? Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Julian Assange has been one of the most responsible journalists we've ever had. He's given us the truth about all sorts of terrible things that have been going on in the world that would not have been going on if people knew the truth. We must put a stop to the lying, and we must free Julian Assange. Because Julian's such a nice bloke, all the prisoners like him and they look after him. In fact, a lot of the prisoners got together to try to get him released out of solitary confinement, and I think at one stage that they were successful for a while. But the bloody-mindedness of the British government knows no end. They continue to harm Julian in every way possible. It must stop. We must free Julian Assange immediately.
While we're talking about Julian's 4 and a bit years in solitary confinement, lockdown, currently 22 hours a day, for 4 and a bit years, he now holds the record at His Majesty's Prison, Belmarsh, as the longest serving remand prisoner. A remand prisoner is one who has not faced trial. Therefore, under the Westminster system, Julian Assange remains a free man. And yet, 4 years of cruel, debilitating, solitary confinement, maximum security lockdown has been meted out to this innocent man, who now stands as the longest serving remand prisoner in His Majesty's prison, Belmarsh.
He's been locked up for 4 years. They dragged him out just over 4 years ago. So it was April. Yeah, so 4 years.
You gotta get the...
We are all Assange.